So if you go to like Dayton or Huntsville, more often than not, John, Rob, Ed, and Amy are in the D-Star booth. So please welcome John as he walks away from me.
I'm not going to use the mic.
Okay.
I'll be down here to scream. We'll probably go a little bit longer than 15 or 20 minutes with the instruction part because it's going to include the hands-on. So we're going to do this kind of in two parts. Actually, I'll call it 2.1 parts. I just want to go over just some very simple things. D-Star quick facts in a nutshell. It's one of several digital voice modes that are used in amateur radio. We've heard about others. DMR, Fusion are some of the main ones you hear. Plus, there's several others that are used around. D-Star is one of them. It's been around since probably the early 2000s when it first started. It is an open standard. You'll have people all the time still, after all these years, they'll say, oh, it's proprietary. No, it is not. The standard itself is open. The vocoder that's used is proprietary. All that does is the analog to digital conversion, digital to analog. And every one of the digital modes, with the exception of, what's the ones used on HF? I can't think of the name of it.
Exception of HF in general.
With exception of HF in general, the ones that are used in the radios, whether it be a DMR, Fusion, or a D-Star radio, use the family of chips from VLSI. They're the AMBE family of chips. Hey, it's a $25 chip, $25 chip in your radio. There's plenty of other things that are very open, including a lot of hotspots and everything else that's been created. So it is an open standard. D-Star was specifically designed for amateur radio. What I mean by that is there are some that had their basis in commercial world, like DMR, for example, P25. They're not made to use call signs. D-Star being done for amateur radio, you transmit your call sign, not a radio ID, like you do in the commercial world that's been brought over to amateur radio. It's just a difference between it. So when you transmit your, just transmit on D-Star, your call sign shows up on the other end. So I always have to throw this in. If you're an anonymous kerchunker on the radio today, you like to key up and just see if the repeater's there, you will no longer be anonymous. Your call sign will show up on the other person's radio and everyone else that's listening. So we all know when Doug's on the air. And he is one of the most prolific D-Star users out there. He's on every day. D-Star has capability for both voice and data. I'm not going to go into a lot on that today. I'm going to confine my presentation tonight with the help of Ed to just a couple of areas to get you going, because these are the ones you ask a new D-Star user, can you do DR mode? They go, what's that? So we're going to get you going on that, and also how to update the memories in your radio. Repeaters can be linked together through the internet, and through what's called reflectors. Reflectors is just a nice conference bridge that connects repeaters together. For example, in Georgia, we have a reflector called Reflector 30, REF030. There are several modules in that. So if you go to Reflector 30B, Bravo, you have most of the D-Star repeaters in Georgia connected together, an instant statewide network. 30 Charlie, 30C, is one of two most popular reflectors and modules in the world. On any given day, it's number one or number two in the amount of traffic. If you want to talk to somebody on D-Star, go to Reflector 30C or Reflector 1C, either one of those.
Sean, excuse me, what is D as in dog?
D,
Yeah.
like a D on a, it's just another module. You can go A, B, C, D on a reflector.
Is it Georgia though?
In Georgia, what we do, we reserve 30D for data traffic.
That's why I can't do that.
There you go. All right, tonight, going to focus on two areas. One is using DR mode. DR mode made things so simple. The second part is we're going to show you how to update the repeater list in your radio. Your radio comes out of the box. You go to HRO, you order it online, you can turn on your radio and it's got preloaded repeaters and reflectors in there. But that's always changing. So we're going to show you a real easy way to do that thanks to a website that Ed created called dstarinfo.com, which not only has that but a world of info. All right, using DR mode. Now, I'm going to use the ID51A as my examples, and you'll see the screenshot. I guess I did make them big enough where you can see it. Good. Most of the radios, other kinds that you will have similar menu system. Some will not have all the capabilities that I'll show you, but the menu system pretty much flows the same. So if you're running a 7100, a 4100, 4100 is going to match it pretty well. Use one of the older models, the 91 or 92. They're going to be a little different. But most of you, I think, does anyone have a 91 or 92 they brought tonight? Okay, Eddie's got one. We'll show you, you can still get a lot of good things out of that. Most everyone else has either a 31, 51, 5100, 4100, 7100, 7300. No, you're not going to get on with 7300. All right, DR mode, that's digital repeater mode. It allows for quick selection of repeaters and then using the linking commands. Before DR mode, you had to know what repeat 1, repeat 2, your call, my call, all meant. You don't have to do that anymore. And all of the later generation of radios have DR mode. You're going to see this button right on the bottom and the laser won't work. But if you look, I'm going to show you this to start with, because everything's going to generate around this. You see this on the radio, the face of the radio. It's like it allows you to scroll, so you can go up, down, left, and right, in addition to the function that's on there. Antenna. So, DR mode, once you get in DR mode, and to get there, you press and hold the DR button. And then once you have that, you'll see to and from. And we're going to go through that and what exactly that is. From, it sets the local repeater that you're going to talk on. Now I'll show you how to select that. But that all that does is say, I'm going to go in on this repeater that's selected in from. To, up at the top, TO, that tells me what I want to do with my signal. It may be as simple as just talking. It may be that I want to link or unlink to another reflector. So that's what that's used for. Now I'm going to go through these kind of quick, but it's going to be using the screenshots, and follow along with me on your radio if you like. All right, from, the first thing is you want to set the repeater that you're going in on. So once you're in DR mode, remember, you turn on, you press and hold the DR button. And then that brings up the to and the from. And so you highlight the from, and you go up or down, going back here. Right now I've got from highlighted. If I wanted to highlight to, I would just press the top of this. All right, so I'm on from, and then I'm going to select nearest repeater. Actually, I'm out of order here. Actually, what I want to do here is use the repeater list. So these are the three options when you press the blue center button. You'll hear me refer to that. It's kind of like an enter key. And then what comes up is repeater list, near repeater, and TX history. So near repeater is going to select the nearest repeater, either digital, D-Star, or FM, based on your current GPS selection. GPS location. Oh, did I mention there's a GPS receiver in all the handhelds and in the 4100 and 5100 mobiles. So it knows where you are, and the repeater list is what we call geocoded, so it knows where the repeaters are, so it's easy to determine what are the nearest repeaters to you. Now that's done when you select near repeater. We'll go through that in a minute. Now if I'm using a repeater list, I'm going to come back and I'm going to say repeater list, and I'm going to select it. The next screen I get is, if it's preloaded from the factory, this list is going to be long. It's going to have different countries of the world. It's going to have different areas of the country. I've modified mine. So I'm only interested, and I'll tell you why mine is a real short list a little later. But right now I can do the Northeast, the Southeast, or if I'm using like a DVAP or Simplex or one of the hot spots, that allows, I've got a section on the repeater list for that. So what you will want to do, no matter how long your list is, from the factory, you will select the region of the country. For purposes tonight, let's select the Southeast. All right, the next thing you do is, once I've selected the Southeast, I'm going to get a list of all the repeaters that are loaded in the Southeast. Now, I scroll through the list using the top button up here, turning the button. You'll note that the list is sorted first by state, which is down on the lower left of the display, and then by city. So if I'm starting with my list here, I'm probably going to get Alabama first. So I'm going to scroll down until I see Georgia, and then I'm going to select the city in Georgia I want. In this particular example, I've picked Lawrenceville. Now, if I had this up a little bit, it would say there's 2 listings for Lawrenceville. Why is that? Because there's actually 2 repeaters. WD4STR-B, which is the UHF. Most US repeaters, B is UHF. Or it might be WD4STR-C. That's the VHF, the 2-meter one. And so that's going to tell you the call sign of a repeater you've selected. So if you're following along with your radio now and you got to that point, if you turn the top knob up and down, you'll see the different cities, and for each city that's selected, you'll see the call sign. Here's an example here, Jersey. You know where Jersey is? It's out south of Monroe. There's 2 repeaters out there, a VHF and a UHF. So if I scrolled up there, I would see the call sign, WC4RGB or WC4RGC. So then I select the one I want, again, by hitting the blue center button. All right, any questions so far? Now we've selected our repeater. That's showing in the front. The next thing I want to do is say, what do I want to do now? Do I want to just talk? Do I want to link somewhere? Unlink? What do I want to do? So again, I'm going to use this kind of like an up, down, left, and right. I'm going to go up so that I've highlighted 2. All right, now that's also labeled as RxCX. But you just want to press it. You don't want to press and hold. Just press it, and it'll step up and show the 2 highlighted. Now, you can do several things once I get there. Most often, you just want to talk, right? And I'll tell you this, if a repeater is already linked somewhere and you get on that repeater, you're going to go with it. So for example, if you're on WD4STR-B here in Lawrenceville and it's linked to Reflector 30B, the statewide network, you're talking on all those repeaters in Georgia. So you don't have to do anything, but what you will do, you're going to need to make sure, you might think, I picked CQ of some kind. This is the only thing ICOM really screwed up that really I get upset about. Because by default, your radio is set to local CQ. And what local CQ means is you're talking on the local repeater and I'm not going to get out of my local repeater. That's great if you're talking to someone local. But what you'll want to do is, most often, you're going to select reflector and then one of these commands. Use reflector is the most common one that you will use. Use reflector means I'm going to talk on my local repeater, and if it's linked somewhere to another reflector, I'm going to go with it, wherever it goes, whatever that repeater is linked to. Now, if I want to link to another reflector, I would select link to reflector. If I want to unlink from the reflector, select that one. Echo test plays back the last information or the last transmission that I made, and repeater information is going to tell me about that repeater. Now, let me mention this. Well, I'll get to that. I've got a slide for that. So most of the time, you're going to want to use reflector. And once you do that, you're back to this display here. Use reflector, and then the repeater that I'm going in on. At that point, I can talk if I'm making that repeater. Now, let's go a little further. If I want to change the reflector, or my repeater is not linked. Let's say it's not linked anywhere. And most repeaters have some software running that will tell you every so often where it's linked. You'll hear a voice announcement, and you'll also see it scroll along the bottom. It'll say link to reflector 4 alpha. So every now and then a repeater will make that announcement. But if I want to link to one, I'm going to select, I'm going to come back here, link to reflector. The next screen I'm going to select, you'll see direct input as one of the choices. Actually, it's down below this. So then I can use the top button to change the reflector number. And then I'm also going to use the right side to scroll over here to the module and then select that. So right now I go to 4 alpha. If I want to change it to 4 bravo, I move the highlight over here, scroll to B. And it says BL, meaning it's going to send the link command.
Does the phone have, I mean not the phone, does the radio have a list of the reflectors within the radio? Other
There's
than that,
already a list up to,
does it tell you what they are?
it doesn't
Oh,
tell
yeah.
you where they are
Right.
or what they are, and there's
D-Star Info will tell you.
there's 80-something
88,
reflectors
I
right
guess,
now,
yeah.
and each one of those reflectors has usually an A, B, and a C.
So where you go to find out where?
I'll get to that.
D-Star Info.
If all else fails, I'll go ahead and tell you, go to dstarinfo.com. There's a tab in there called Reflectors,
Or
top of the
repeater.
page, and that will give you a list of all the reflectors, and if they have especially, for example, Italian language, or West Coast, California only, New England, whatever, you'll see that list. So you can use that to get to select one that you like. So once you do this, you again press the center button to enter that reflector number.
Yep.
All right, here's some simple rules for linking and unlinking. If a repeater is already linked to a reflector, your radio follows the link. You go out that repeater and you go out on every other repeater that it's linked to. Now, if you want to change that, you must unlink by issuing that unlink reflector command first. And how do you do that? Once you select that, you key the mic one time. Now, we don't know who you are, but then we'll say reflector, or it will say repeater not linked. And so I want to unlink it first, and then I can go to link to reflector, select what reflector I want, again, key it. Now, once you're done with that, and it's said link to reflector 30 alpha, you want to come back and say use reflector, so you get back to that on the 2, and that lets you talk. So whenever you issue the unlink, link, whatever, to talk, come back to use reflector. Does that make sense? I'm going kind of fast, but it's real simple. Once you go through it a time or two, you'll see it. And no matter what the radio, the menu system is pretty close to the same.
Just for references, there's a great video on YouTube that goes through linking and unlinking.
There are many videos out there.
There's one that George Aries uses, very specific.
Okay.
And then when it's done, the last couple of minutes shows you how to convert to DRAX.
Now, if you want to go through, take 3 hours of your life and learn a lot about D-Star, you can go to dstarinfo.com, go to the Conferences tab, and then you'll see a class that somebody we know here did a 3-hour class for 4 or 5 years in Dayton. Let's go to the last year that's listed, which I think is 2016.
Or you can go in 6 hours, you can do both classes 2 years. 9 hours,
But I'll tell you, if you're gonna watch that, the first hour is just what is D-Star, what's its capability, general information. The second hour is this stuff, learning how to program, how to use it. So remember, once you issue a link or unlink command, go back to use reflector. What happens if you don't do that? You're still gonna transmit, you're still gonna go out on the air, but when you unkey, it's going to say remote system linked because you issued that link command again. Now it's only going to be heard on the local repeater. But just remember, go back to use reflector. As a starting point, stay on use reflector and you're connected.
If you go in and unlink one, are you gonna hose somebody up that's using that?
A point of etiquette. Good point. Good question.
what was the question?
If you go in and unlink, are you going to mess somebody up that may be on? Remember, you are linking or unlink that repeater that covers that area. So a good rule of thumb is, for anything in amateur radio, listen before you do anything else. If no one else is using it, you still might make the announcement just as a courtesy to say, I'm going to unlink from the repeater, unlink from the reflector, and link to reflector 4 alpha. And that way someone goes, no, don't do that. I'm waiting for somebody. You'll know that. Let me give you another point. Most of the repeaters run some software that will, by default, you can unlink, you can go somewhere else, and let's say then you turn your radio off, you drive out of the area, whatever. It will come back to what's called the default reflector. Most repeaters have that connected. So if you want to listen to the West Coast guys for a while, tune over there. You go away for 15 minutes, it's idle. It'll come back, it'll unlink and link back to where it normally stays. In Georgia, that's usually 30 Bravo. So that's kind of the simple rules for linking and unlinking. Any questions? Because this is all you need to get started. Now, I want to mention one thing. You go to HRO, you order it from Gigaparts, it comes in. What's the first thing you need to do?
Register.
Hmm?
Register.
Put
No.
your call in it.
Open the box.
Open the box, yes. Good point. You want to
your
go to
call.
the menu and hit menu, this button right here, and then go to call, I think it's call sign, or my station, my station. My station. And you want to enter your call sign. And you'll put in, you can put in your call.
Menu call sign. Menu call sign.
Menu, no, menu, my station.
Call sign / name.
Menu, my station, call sign.
Yeah, my station.
Okay.
This is my-